There's something no one tells you about Libra, not because it's a closely guarded secret, but because it's the kind of thing that exists exactly halfway between what people see and what you really are. And that halfway point is invisible to almost everyone. The world has learned to call you indecisive, someone who sits on the fence, someone who overthinks before acting, as if that were a limitation, a factory defect. But no one stopped to ask, what if this whole process that happens inside you before any decision isn't a weakness? What if it's exactly the opposite? Libra, think of a judge. Not the movie judge, the one who dramatically bangs the gavel, the real judge, the one who pores over the case at 11 o'clock at night, rereading each page, weighing every detail, because he knows that the sentence he is about to give will change someone's life. He doesn't delay because he doesn't know. He delays because he knows too much, because he feels the weight of each consequence even before it happens. That judge is you. But nobody saw the process. They only saw the silence before the decision and concluded it was empty. It wasn't. It was a court operating full-time, with you inside, judging, weighing, verifying, and verifying again. Now comes the part that maybe no one has told you yet. God doesn't distribute the most difficult tests by accident. It's not a lottery. It's not bad luck. There's a logic behind it, a logic that seems unfair when you're in the midst of it, but that, when you understand it, completely changes the way you look at everything you've been through. The toughest tests come to those who have the inner strength to endure them without breaking, not to those who will pass by without feeling, to those who will feel everything, every detail, every facet of the pain, every layer of the cost, and still choose the path that preserves their own soul, even when that path is the one that hurts the most. This is the test that has been sent to you. It wasn't a test of strength. It wasn't a test of how much you could endure before breaking. It was something more subtle and far more devastating, a test of character in a situation where there was no right answer, where any choice would hurt someone, where the quickest way out was right there, visible, within reach, and that way out had a name: betrayal. You saw it. You felt the pull, that tug that comes before thought. I'm not going to pretend I didn't feel it, because that would be dishonest to you. Everyone sees the emergency exit door when it appears. The difference lies in what each person does afterward. So, what did you do? He didn't cross. Not because you couldn't, because something inside you, that court that never closes, not on weekends, not at midnight, not in the moments when it would have been so much easier to ignore, said no. Not loudly, not fanfare-free. It just said no, calmly and absolutely, like someone who knows that some doors simply aren't meant to be opened. And that's where the hardest part begins, because refusing the shortcut didn't protect you from the pain. It put you in it in a different way, cleaner, more honest, but no less heavy. And you've been carrying this weight without being able to explain to anyone what you're carrying, because how do you explain that you're suffering for having done the right thing? How do you start this conversation without it sounding absurd? This is the paradox that lies at the heart of Libra's nature. And that is precisely why the question that remains is this: if you did everything right, Libra, if you didn't betray, didn't lie, didn't abandon those who shouldn't have been abandoned, why shouldn't the pain? This question is not rhetorical. It is real, and it remains, because Libra knows how to do the right thing. But what to do with what's left afterward, with the pain that lingers even after acting with complete integrity? That's still the open question. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path, that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose. Not as a catalog of your sign's traits, but as a map, the kind that only makes sense when you've truly been lost. For Libra specifically, this material goes straight to the point that few address: what it means to be tested by an impossible choice, to maintain integrity even without applause, and what to do with the clarity that begins to emerge after the storm passes. It speaks to the purpose behind Libra's behavioral patterns, not as theory, but as recognition of what you've always been and never had words to name. You are in this place now. That question is still active within you. This is the moment when this content makes the most sense. Not after the emotion cools, not when life has calmed down. Now, while you can still feel what is being named here. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. In the comments, tell me, was there a time when you refused to take the shortcut? When it might have been easier if you had betrayed someone, given up something valuable, or pretended not to know? What did you feel inside after that? The answer to that question, why the pain didn't go away along with the guilt, begins with a truth that Libra rarely allows to truly sink in. The pain that remains after you've done the right thing isn't a mistake. It's not punishment. It's not a sign that you chose wrong. It's the exact price of having kept your own soul whole. And that price is paid before recognition, not after. Before any applause, before any validation, before someone comes along and says, "I saw what you did and it was right." The price comes first. Clarity comes later. Think of it this way. When you pay a bill that wasn't yours, because you know that if you don't pay, someone you love will suffer the consequences, the money goes out. It doesn't come back. There's no automatic refund. You bear the cost. And for a while, sometimes longer than seems fair, you feel the financial loss, not because it was wrong to pay, but because nobody warned you that doing the right thing has this specific weight, a weight that isn't alleviated by the certainty of having done the right thing. Libra is not naive. They are well aware of the cost of their choice. And that is precisely what makes the burden heavier. It's not ignorance of the loss, but knowledge of it. It's knowing exactly what you gave up, exactly what could have been different if you had walked through that door. And here lies a mechanism that very few understand about Libra. The inner court not only judges decisions, it processes losses. After the choice is made, the court remains active, reviewing, analyzing, verifying whether the decision still holds up in light of each new piece of information that arrives. What the world calls Libra ruminating, or not being able to let go, is not pathological fixation. It is the integrity verification system continuing to function even after the verdict. Libra doesn't revise because it doubts. It revises because it takes its own judgment seriously. And then the guilt appears. Not the guilt of the one who erred, but the guilt of knowing that other people suffered while you made the right choice. This is the hardest kind of guilt to bear because it doesn't have an easy name. It doesn't have a support group. It doesn't have social permission to exist. You did the right thing, so why do you still feel guilty? As if feeling and acting were the same thing. As if the fact of having acted well were enough to silence everything that happens beneath the surface. They are not. You can feel the pull of the shortcut and still not take it. You can feel guilt for the people affected by your right choice and still know that the choice was right. This ability to exist in two emotional realities at the same time, to feel deeply and yet not be controlled by what you feel, is one of the most extraordinary things Libra possesses. And it's also one of the most exhausting. Because maintaining two realities simultaneously demands energy. It demands internal structure. It demands that court functioning full time, without breaks, without rest. And at some point, this accumulated cost becomes apparent. Not as a collapse, because Libra rarely collapses visibly. It appears as silent exhaustion, as that feeling of being present in everything but empty somewhere that no one can touch. But this burden, the specific burden of carrying the pain that remains when you act with integrity, has a layer that goes beyond what any everyday conversation can reach. This is where the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose comes in a way that makes real sense for Libra. Not to artificially alleviate this burden. That's not the point. But to name what is being carried, and to show that carrying this has a direction, a purpose that is not visible from within the trial. The material delves into the relationship between Libra's internal value system and the cost it silently exacts. Understanding this relationship doesn't eliminate the pain, but it removes the extra weight of thinking that this pain is evidence that you were wrong, when in fact it is precise evidence that you were not wrong. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But now comes the part that changes everything. Tests don't come by accident. And the toughest tests, the ones that put you in a position where any choice will cost you something, where there's no clean way out, those come to someone specific, not just anyone. To those who have the strength to carry the weight without breaking. Think of a rare metal, gold, titanium, some material that the world uses precisely where it needs strength the most. These materials aren't born ready for use. They first go through the most intense fire. It's precisely in this most extreme process that impurities are removed, and what remains is pure, strong, irreplaceable. The most valuable metal isn't the one that has never been melted. It's the one that has been through the fire and come out better on the other side. God didn't test you because He wanted to see you suffer. He tested you because He knew what you were capable of becoming afterward, because He knew the process wouldn't destroy you. It would reveal you. This is not cheap consolation. It's not everything happens for a reason, vaguely stated to close the matter and move on. It's an observation about a real pattern. Those who emerge on the other side of a devastating test without having betrayed anyone, without having broken their own ethics, without having crossed the line they knew they shouldn't cross. They don't come out the same. They come out different in a way that can't be explained to those who haven't been through the same thing. You know what I'm talking about. There's something in you now that wasn't there before. It's not arrogance, it's not superiority, it's a kind of quiet firmness, a tranquil certainty about who you are that didn't depend on external validation to establish itself. This certainty didn't come from any conversation. It didn't come from any praise. It didn't come from anyone saying you got it right. It came from within. It was built in silence at the exact moment of the test while no one was watching. And now it stays. It won't go away. But here's the question few people ask. How do you know you passed? How do you recognize that the test is over? Not that the situation has been resolved externally, but that what the test was looking for in you has already been found. Because there is a huge difference between a situation having ended and a cycle having been completed. The situation may have ended and the cycle still be active. The cycle closes when what needed to be learned, processed and integrated has actually passed through the system. When the internal court recognizes that the case has been closed, that the verdict is well-founded, that there is nothing more to review. How do you know when this happens? Recognizing the end of an internal cycle is exactly the type of issue that the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose specifically addresses for Libra. Not with external markers, dates, events, the approval of others. With internal markers, the changing quality of silence, the type of thought that stops recurring, the different way you begin to talk about the same situation. The material helps Libra develop this self-awareness, the ability to orient themselves by the signals of their own internal system without needing outside confirmation. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. The signs are subtle, They don't arrive with fanfare, they don't arrive with ceremony, and that's precisely why Libra sometimes misses them without recognizing them, still waiting for a more dramatic, louder, more obvious confirmation than the one the cycle actually uses to conclude. But the end of a trial cycle isn't noisy. It's like the end of a storm. It's not a suddenly clear blue sky. It's that first ray of sunshine that appears with clouds still in the background, still smelling of rain in the air, still with the ground wet. You look up and think, it's getting better. It's not completely over, but it's getting better. And that thought, which isn't certain yet, just a possibility emerging, that thought is already a sign. The first real sign is when the guilt changes its nature. It doesn't disappear suddenly, but it ceases to be heavy and begins to be just a memory. You still remember what happened. You can still reconstruct every detail, but it doesn't hurt in the same way anymore. It's like a scar that has stopped inflaming. It's still there, still part of your body's map, still visible to anyone who looks closely, but it doesn't scream anymore. The second sign is when you can tell the story without needing anyone to validate your choice. You narrate what happened, the test, the temptation, the decision, and you don't wait for the other person to say, you did the right thing. Because at some point in the process, at some moment you may not even have noticed you stopped needing that confirmation. You already know, and knowing is enough. The third sign, and this is perhaps the most silent of all, is when you begin to recognize the same pattern in other people. You see someone going through a test similar to the one you went through, and instead of judgment, what you feel is recognition, compassion, a kind of, I know what's inside that silence, not as superiority, but as real understanding. You can't teach what you haven't lived. But when you have lived it, your presence carries a different quality, one that people feel without being able to name it, without knowing why, but feeling that you understand something that most don't yet understand. It is at this point that the cycle closes, not with fanfare, not with ceremony, with the quiet arrival of a peace that is unlike any peace you have ever felt before, because this one was earned, not inherited. This quality you've come to possess, the silent recognition that belongs to those who have truly been tested and haven't broken, has a name in the field of real human growth. It's moral authority built through lived experience, not declaration. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose specifically delves into how Libra can use this authority as an internal compass, not to guide others, but to orient themselves with greater precision and less doubt. To stop questioning their own judgment when it is, in fact, one of the most calibrated instruments they possess. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. And then we arrive at what's left, not at the end, to what remains in Libra after the test is over, after the signs have been recognized, after the guilt has been processed and quiet certainty has settled in where there was once constant doubt and endless revision. What remains is not triumph. Triumph is noisy. Triumph needs an audience, external recognition, someone to applaud and confirm that you won. What remains in Libra after a real test is something calmer and much more lasting than anything that needs an audience. It is wholeness, a kind of silent completeness, as if after a long time living with scattered parts of yourself, constantly checking, reviewing and weighing, all those parts finally aligned. Not because life became perfect, not because the test was easy or because the cost was less than it seemed, but because you discovered in practice that there is something inside you that doesn't bend, that doesn't yield to what is easy when what is easy is not what is right. That something is your scale, not the scale the world uses as a symbol of indecision, the real scale, the precision instrument that measures what has no visible weight, that detects imbalance before anyone else can perceive it, that calibrates with a sensitivity most people simply weren't developed to possess. You weren't tested despite being who you are. You were tested because of who you are. And the hardest test didn't come to break you. It came to show you that you were already made of unbreakable material, that the harmony Libra seeks in the world is neither naivete nor fragility. It's a reflection of a harmony it already carries within itself, more intact, more real, more resilient than any storm could prove. That inner scale, the court that never closes, the system of verification that the world sometimes mistakes for hesitation, that is your most precious gift. Not a flaw to be corrected, a rare ability, built over time, honed in every trial, and now a permanent part of who you are. God has given you the most difficult test, and you passed, without cheating, without betraying anyone, without crossing the line you knew couldn't be crossed, even when crossing it would have been so much simpler. That's no small thing, that's all.